Paul, you've given us a lecture on race and affirmative action. I want to start out with a question about our own college, founded in 1844. In its charter, it says there will be no discrimination based on race, religion, or sex. How unusual was it for an institution way back in the 18th century, 19th century, to say such a thing?
Well, it was very unusual. In fact, Hillsdale, if it's not the first, is certainly among the first one or two colleges to admit women as well as blacks on the same terms as whites. Hillsdale was founded by the Free Will Baptists, who were an evangelical denomination, a part of the Second Great Awakening, which was maybe the most important factor in making an anti-slavery movement in the United States. So Hillsdale was very much part of that, sort of the abolitionist movement. We're very proud of the fact that our college sent more of its student body as a proportion to fight for the Union cause than any other except the military academies. So Hillsdale's founding was very much a part of the movement against slavery. The effort to bring fulfillment to what the founders hoped, which was that slavery was on its way out, and that eventually the Constitution would no longer have to compromise with the institution.
And the college has fought to maintain this principle, even at some cost, in the era of the modern administrative state. Bring the story up to now, if you could.
Sure. For years in the late 19th and into the 20th century, for instance, the college would not participate in athletic events with other institutions that segregated their students. In the 20th century especially, once the federal government began to require colleges to take race into account if they were receiving federal financial aid, that's really what made Hillsdale and some other colleges like Grove City College challenge the Department of Education in their interpretation of the Civil Rights Act. This is Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which said that any institution that receives federal financial aid, federal financial assistance, can't discriminate on the basis of race. And for Hillsdale, that was really no problem, because we'd say we've never discriminated on the basis of race. We've never taken race into account at all. We've always admitted blacks on equal terms with whites. So this was something that should have had no effect on the college whatsoever. But once the bureaucrats began to define non-discrimination as a requirement that you take race into account, that you count the number of your students on the basis of race, that you adopt what later came to be called affirmative action, the college's refusal to do that is what led to long litigation, and ultimately in the 1980s, the Supreme Court decided that, and Congress decided that, if you don't comply with this new affirmative action interpretation of the Civil Rights Act, you can't receive federal financial aid. That's why Hillsdale doesn't.